Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. This is a special live stream with my good friend Quis from SportsVibesTV joining us, and JD will be joining us soon. Here, I got the live stream popped up on my side. I started hearing the music and stuff. All right. So how you feeling, Quis?
I'm good, George, man. How's everything with you?
It's good. It's good. I've had a couple extra days to reflect on the pain of Sunday, mostly because it was so close. I think if we'd been, I wonder how we'd feel if we'd been blown out. We'd be just like, it was one of those games. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, what was rough was we were in position to win, yet we didn't have our best game. And, Trae Young went off. So if there was a game that we had to win or we should have won, that was it right there. So the fact that we let the game slip through our fingers is what really upset me. But, game 2, I expect us to go out there and get this victory. If we can go out there and at least secure that last game at home, then I'm going to feel a lot better about this series. But if they decide that they're not going to have the same level of effort, the way they started the game in the second game, we're going to be in big trouble. Yeah.
Well, the starting of the game, that seems to be the biggest topic of interest right now. And it's out there. I think basically like 99.9% of the Knicks fan base want to see a switch at the starting point guard position. What do you think is the probability that Thibs is actually going to make that change?
It should be 90%. Should be. Well, to me, it should be 100%. But if Thibs likes to keep his roster or his rotation set. So I'm going to say 90%. If it was any other coach, it'd be 100%. Elfrid Payton is sitting on the bench to see what he did in transition and allow Trae Young to go coast to coast, get into the paint and throw that alley-oop to Capella. I think that was just, as a Knicks fan, that was rough to see. These guys should be giving out their hardest effort. And to see, both Payton and Noel, I'll say Noel was a little lackadaisical getting back as well. So, to go back to your question, I think it's 100% chance that it should be done. But with Thibs, it'll be 90%.
All right. Well, I think 90% is about as close as we've been, with Thibs. He's definitely been stubborn about it. And, I did that video, which was kind of like a love letter, to Rose, Randle, and Thibs, talking about their evolution, their reinvention of themselves, mostly the game for the two players, but a reinvention of their approach to how they deal with players is what Thibs went through. But he still has that stubbornness, because he knows that he's always the smartest basketball guy in the room. He always knows that. So I feel like it takes a lot to convince him to make a big change like that. Once he's like, I feel like he's so entrenched into it now. You think he would have tried it, a few, weeks ago.
I mean, he's been against it all season. So for him to now finally give in, it would kind of show that he was wrong. Imagine where this team would have been if he decided to make the switch earlier in the year. Maybe we're a 3 seed. So for him to make that switch now, it would prove that, what we've been calling for should be the move that we needed to make.
Yeah, I will, I gotta be honest. I will be, I know he's kind of tipped it a little bit, but I'll be shocked. I'll be surprised if he does make the change and he starts, Rose or Quickley, or even,
or
Frank. I actually think starting Frank might be the more, the easier switch to digest for the whole team. Because Frank's he's been there the longest. He's been here the longest. He has a history with Elf. They were there together last year. They have a relationship, a camaraderie, and I think it'll be easier because it seems like Elf is a prideful guy. It'll be easier for him to accept getting benched for Frank as opposed to Derrick Rose, who everyone wants. I mean? It's like this weird psychological
my preference.
Thing. Yeah, I think it gives us more flexibility and it keeps the minutes down on Rose. Because look, didn't he play the most minutes in game 1?
He was up there. He was up there. I don't know the exact number, but I think he was above 36.
Yeah, I think he actually led the team. Let me pull this up because that is an important note for us here.
It was either 36 or 38, I think.
Yeah, whatever it was the team high. Yeah, 38. He was the team. Wow. To think that Mr. ACL, meniscus, triple meniscus, and orbital fracture dude played the most minutes.
But I think you can make Derrick Rose the starter and still manage his minutes, because you can have Derrick Rose, because we have a sample size, like Sko said it, and I have a couple of the box sheets pulled up. The team looked good with Derrick Rose as a starter. Alec Burks played in those games and he looked good. IQ looked good. Frank also got in some minutes and he looked decent in the time he played. So the team has shown an example that they're able to operate with Derrick Rose as the starter. And then in the second unit, you can allow Alec Burks, if you want, to kind of orchestrate that second unit. You'd still have defense. Your defense wouldn't be compromised by bringing in Frank Ntilikina. And you still have IQ as an off-the-bench scorer. So that's why I say Derrick Rose probably should be the best option, or should be the option to start. But I can understand why you would say Frank, or somebody else might say Immanuel Quickley. But for me, we've already seen it with Derrick Rose. We already have an example that we can look at and say, all right. And we beat a decent Indiana team too. The other teams were kind of pushovers. We beat Sacramento and we beat Detroit. But to go up against the Pacers, where Derrick Rose and IQ both had decent games, I think that's something we can look at and kind of mirror going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely Rose starting, those 3 games that he started, they were pretty sensational. I actually did a side-by-side comparison video of him, the 3 games that he started and the 3 games before that Elf started, and it was just such a dramatic. And actually, the Knicks were even better with Rose starting, and defensively. The one rationale that I see, like, kind of throw a little curveball at the Hawks, would be starting Frank and just let Frank harass the hell out of Trey in those first 5 minutes. Don't let him get in a flow, and he can really, with that length, he can disrupt that pick and roll, the lob pass, those floaters, and I think he'll be more prepared too to tackle that task, because to just throw him in there for a few seconds like Thibs did at the end of each half was a little unfair to Frank. And to all of us, really, to Knicks Nation. But salute to the chat. All right.
Shout out to the chat. Shout out Sko, brother BKL.
D nice. Shout out, brother. All right, brother BK. Jesse Rodriguez. I don't know if you're out there, but shout out to you, brother. Oh man, what do you think is going to be the biggest adjustment that Thibs is going to make in game 2?
Outside of that starting lineup, I think you touched it, and that's going to be defending Trae Young. We can't allow Trae Young to have as easy of a time getting into the paint, and we have to throw more defenders at him to kind of confuse him, because once he's getting into the paint, he's able to see the entire court, and he's able to make the right decision, whether that be the floater, whether that be an alley-oop to Capella, or whether that be finding the open shooter, which is usually Bogdan or even Herter. So if we can finally get a game plan that kind of disrupts that flow, I think that's going to be the key to the series. Yeah. I think definitely that's going to be the most important aspect of it. Because in general, I mean, I know Hawks missed some open shots too, just as well as, salutes, Foxy. Salute. Hey, Foxy, what's good?
And Francisco Gio, salute to you, brother. I think we played pretty good defense in general. I don't see we kept them to 107 points. That's not bad for such a high scoring offense. And they only shot 35% from behind the arc. I do expect, I kind of expect another incredibly close game in game 2. I'm expecting that. I just don't see one team blowing the other one out. Even if they build a lead, the other team can get back, because both teams are excellent 3-point shooting teams. And I think the biggest lead of the night was 11 points. at one point, and it was pretty short lived. It was only for about the end of the first quarter, and then part of the second quarter. And that second unit, huh?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think of that second unit, Quis?
They're fan favorites, honestly. Obi came out. He looked energetic. He had a couple good plays. Had a ferocious dunk. I liked what I saw from Obi. If Obi can do what he did, what did he play? 8-9 minutes. If he can double the amount of minutes and give that same level of production, I think that'll be solid. I won't say his rookie year was wasted, because now we're seeing in the playoffs, if he's going to continue to play like that, he was at least learning when he wasn't getting those minutes. So if he can continue to develop, if IQ can continue to knock down those deep threes, that's going to be something that the Hawks are going to have to game plan for, because they weren't giving him as much respect in the first game. That's why he was able to knock down that first open deep three. So if they're going to have to now game plan for that, I think the second unit is going to be even more explosive. Taj Gibson, he might not be in the second unit because we still don't know what's going to happen with Noel. So we're going to see if Norvel Pell is going to be able to elevate his game and be a shot blocker or a defensive presence if he's called upon to play. But the second unit is not the part of the team I'm most worried about. It's that starting unit. It's a unit that's been holding us down to start games and to start the second half time and time again.
Yeah. Yeah, got the first unit. And it's the irony is that the best unit that's on the floor is often that hybrid of the second unit and the first unit, where we see like Burks, Rose with Randle, RJ, and then either Nerlens or Taj, whoever's not in foul trouble at the time. I like that unit. But Pell, it's a good thing you brought him up, because he had a pretty decent game against the Hawks, right? For the Knicks. I think his best game for us was that one against the Hawks, because both Taj and Nerlens went down during that. It was the last game that went into overtime. So he already has kind of a feel for this opponent. So he would be, of course, it would be a loss, a big step down to shift from Nerlens to Pell. No disrespect, Norvell, but I think he definitely can give us some productive minutes at the 5. So I'm not that worried about the 5 if Nerlens can't go. But it sounds like, when they say questionable, they often, he can make it. Often he can play. Maybe he won't start. Maybe Taj will start and Nerlens will, fill in, play, 15 minutes here and there, But we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, I don't like questionable. I prefer hearing probable. I hear probable, I know we're in the clear. Questionable, you never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Questionable. Yeah, I know. They kept us. Burks was questionable for a while, and he didn't play.
Yep. Just like 3 games, I think, in a row or something like that. And never.
Yeah. That was
with Rose. I think when Rose was out for the protocols, he was questionable a couple games.
Yes. I think with the COVID, I think it's just a matter of people just getting their energy back, because it's so draining. So it's kind of hard to gauge, from day to day until you wake up that morning. You're like, wow, I feel good, because when I got my second dose, man, I was knocked out. So it took a little bit to recover. It took like 24 hours. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? You think Burks can keep giving us that same, that same productivity that he gave us in game 1?
I think so, because that was the same Burks we saw before he went down. I mean, not went down, but before he went out due to the Rona. So it seems like he's starting to get back into form, and he's looking like he's going to be the closer of this team in the playoffs. So I think he can continue to produce the way he did, and he's going to have to, especially if we have to elevate Derrick Rose into the starting lineup, because I think Burks's playmaking is going to be extremely important, regardless of who he plays with. To have that secondary playmaker on the court with the starters, or to him being the primary playmaker with the second unit, I think his role on this team is super impactful. And you're seeing it when he's out there on the court. So I think he'll continue to perform like this. He's another player on a contract year. And you know how players perform on a contract year when they know they're playing for their money. So I think he'll continue to play like this.
Yeah. And I think so as well. I think. I mean, maybe he won't give us, I mean, 27 points. He may not give us 27 points, 9 of 13, but he's going to give us production. And one thing I like about him, I like when he drives, he finds those little seams for those bounce passes. I don't feel like our team does that enough in general. I mean, they tried it. Rose tried it, and it turned into some turnovers, actually.
You don't see a lot. I want to see more pick and roll from this team as well. You don't really see too much. Not enough, at least. They tried in the middle of the season. I did some film breakdowns where they had IQ running it. But, toward the end of the season, you don't see too much. There was a play with Derrick Rose and Julius Randle where Julius Randle set the screen and Derrick Rose found him with a beautiful bounce pass. But outside of that play, they're far and few between.
That's true. That's true. Oh, wow. You know what? We need to get Julius some easier buckets and putting him in the pick and roll. Having him replace the big. Normally it's Taj or Nerlens. I'd like to see Julius in that spot, and then he can either roll or he can pop back out because he can hit the three. Nerlens and Taj can't, so they're always going to roll.
Yep.
And that creates it makes it one dimensional. Our pick and roll. It's really effective when when the big has some versatility to his game. He has more levels to his scoring. Taj at least has some good hands. Nerlens, the pass has to totally hit him right. Yeah, basically. You got to throw it at his face because then he'll catch it.
Yep. He'll catch it off the rebound. Boop, boop.
Yeah, boom. Right. Oh, yeah.
I got it. That guy is something else. But Obi's another player that can pick and pop as well. But I think they use him too much as a stretch forward. They got to get him rolling to the basket.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what he was doing over in Dayton. He wasn't just being a catch and shoot four. He wasn't being a catch and shoot big. Get him some more action to the basket. Get him some easier looks as well. Because shooting catch and shoot threes, I think he can make that shot, but it's not the best shot for him to take. And I think most defenses are going to be okay with him being the one taking that shot from out there.
Totally, 100% agree. I was really impressed with OB and IQ. To think they're rookies, their first game in the postseason, and they weren't phased at all. In fact, I think it's the most the most serious that I've seen OB on the floor, and by seriousness I mean totally focused,
engaged.
Aware. Yeah, engaged, and he was looking for opportunities. He never looked confused. And that three he took has so much confidence. He kind of got up there in the air to shoot it too. He really elevated to.
He shoots better when he gets some lift under him.
Yeah. I've in the corner, I feel like he does that more above the break than in the corners. Right in the corners, he just kind of gets up a little bit, but doesn't really fully elevate. But above the break, he really gets up there. So if let's say, a Gallo is on him, I think Obi will be able to get a nice shot over that guy. Who are you worried about?
Gallo, we got to attack Gallo more on defense. I mean, when he's playing defense. Speaking of Gallo, we got to exploit mismatches more. We're not exploiting mismatches. Everybody's trying to either go one-on-one or they're catch and shooting when they're about to be contested. We need to exploit the mismatches. They did some of it in the second half where RJ was going after Trey, but we need to see Julius Randle try to go after Gallo when he's on him. And I think that way we'll get them to the line a lot more. And it'll kind of get them into the flow of the game. Because if Julius Randle's going to have another game where he's going to 6 or 23, at least to the free throw line a lot more earlier in the game. So at least maybe you can kind of find your shot, find your rhythm. And that way you're not looking, a little bit lost towards the end of the game.
Hey, you there? Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello. I think we may have lost Quis for a second. All right.
You can hear me or no?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You just kind of it froze up for a little second there. But you're on now.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so I think we may have lost your point if you want to repeat what you were just saying before.
I was speaking about exploiting mixed matches, I believe. Going after Gallo. Julius Randle needs to attack Gallo. And then also RJ has to continue to attack Trey because they put Trey on him in the second half to kind of try to hide him.
Yeah,
and RJ's got to do a little bit more of that.
The few times that RJ did drive, Capella was out of the game. So it was against Gallo. Yeah. Oh, I think you froze again. All right, there you are.
All right, cool.
All right, cool. I wonder if that's on my end. Interesting. It's the first time we're using StreamYard. Someone's joining us here. There he is. There he is. JD of JD Sports Talk.
What's going on, everybody? What's going
Welcome,
on,
brother.
sports fans? What's going on, Knicks fans? What's going on, chat?
What's happening?
What's going on, JD? How's everything with you? Good?
Everything's good, man. How you doing?
Chilling. Just trying to get over this loss.
Yeah.
Trying to get over. Well, Julius Randle won Most Improved Player award, so let's give him a round of applause.
Can you guys hear it if I do it on my end? Can you hear it or no?
Yeah. There we go.
Do it one more time.
Julius, do it again.
Yeah.
Wait, I must have been showering when they announced that.
Yeah. I was like, dang, I can't even shoot a video. I got to go on the live stream.
Right.
Well, congratulations to Julius. Totally deserved.
Maybe that's what I was doing. That's why I'm late. No, I'm just kidding.
He said I just the show.
Yeah. Oh, the JD freeze again? All right.
No,
there he is.
He just got a little stuck there. But yeah, no, I mean that's some good news on an off day, and hopefully he gets some confidence off that. I know it's just an award, and it may not mean much to fans, but I'm sure personally to him, considering that Derrick Rose did not get the Sixth Man of the Year award, deservedly so, went to Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels good, for him to get an award, being that he had a tough game. I'm sure since it was announced about 30 minutes ago, not sure if at this time the team was in the building. So tomorrow will be a big day for him and his team. I'm sure his teammates, Theo Pinson, will probably do some wild stuff in the locker room. And I think, I think that the game is tomorrow, so I think it'll be a good kind of locker room boost going into the game, and hopefully that adds to a bounce back performance from Julius Randle tomorrow. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Man,
we got an award. We got an award, man. I mean, so we got something. Great season. We got some nominees there with Tom Thibodeau, head coach, Derrick Rose, Julius Randle. I mean, we got something to put into the little case there.
Yeah, you think do they announce the coach tomorrow? You think? Because they announced yesterday was the Sixth Man.
I have no idea when they announce these things. It just seems like you just wake up on one of the days and it's just announced.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's dates for these.
Reporters tweets it and you retweet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if there's dates for these things. It's just like he says, you see the tweet.
Yeah,
what's up?
Yeah, yep. Well, that one's next, and if we win, that would be if Thibs wins that one. Though I have a feeling now it's going to go to Monty Williams. Starting to get that vibe, even though Windhurst, he said he put his ballot in and he voted for Thibs. So, we'll see.
But Windhurst is only reliable when it comes to LeBron stuff. That's LeBron flunky.
Yeah. Right. That's how he kind of made his career, right?
He started in Cleveland as LeBron's flunky, and then LeBron took him with him to Miami, and then he joined ESPN, and then bada bing, bada boom, bada bong. Ain't that how you say it?
Bingo, bango, bungo.
Yeah, there we go. That's what it is.
All right. So I think we said if George said that we were going to leave the stream, so I think we're cutting it. We're cutting it short now.
Oh man! Hey, if you're going to be somebody's flunky, being LeBron's flunk, that's the guy to do. That's the guy to be.
So what did I miss? What do you guys?
Well, we jumped on. We talked about our general feelings, how we feel today. After we've had we've had almost 48 hours to digest this loss, and I said that I feel. I mean, I feel really hopeful, especially after rewatching the game. on tape, and because there was a lot out there about, oh, Atlanta did this, Atlanta did that. When you rewatch the game, yeah, they did those things, but it's nothing that dramatic that what other people have been doing. So they kind of shaded him a little bit. Capella, they covered Julius with smaller people, to kind of induce him to drive. So he drives into traffic. These are easy little adjustments, which he actually did throughout the game. He just didn't hit his shots, and like I stated in my other video that it was. I really think that Julius and RJ and apparently Reggie Bullock as well, who we should talk about in a little bit. They just got caught up in the magnitude of the moment, and they by the time they started adjusting, the Hawks were in their flow, and Randle never really caught fire, and RJ didn't either. And to think that we only lost by 2, on really a broken defensive play at the end, because apparently
and a shoe.
And what?
Don't forget the shoe. Don't forget the shoe.
And the shoe. Yes. So there was a loose shoe on the court interfering. Taj.
So you tweet about it.
Yeah, I tweeted about it. So Taj was like, he couldn't really, cross over to double team Trey properly because of that shoe was in. He didn't know if he was going to step on it and fall. So I think that kind of, we're talking about, tenths of a second in decision making, and if that interfered with him. And then Frank, I don't think he was totally clear on exactly what he was supposed to do on that play, which that's disappointing. I feel like coming out like end game moments, we haven't been that great. I don't think. Yeah,
I don't think there was great chemistry with him and Taj. If you saw the play, they were both like kind of discombobulated on the play there, and it seemed like Frank tried to recover his technique and his positioning. And once he did that, and Trae Young changed directions, it was over.
Yeah. Hey, do you think I didn't notice? But I'm wondering. I'm struggling because you're totally right. They did look disconnected, but like, how could that be? They were just coming out of a timeout. They just were in a huddle. So I'm wondering if Atlanta subbed somebody else in that they weren't prepared for, and so then we're looking around like, what happened there?
I mean, I think the first sign on that play that I kind of thought to myself, it's kind of, I don't know if it's karma, I don't know if it's mystique, I don't know if it just happens that way, was when Alec Burks was coming in late. The Knicks actually went on the floor with 4 players.
Right.
And so there are times when those things develop, there are times where, so you don't get a technical foul, a team would just push a player onto the court, or somebody will rush just so you can get that 5th player on the court. Just like in football, when you have 12 men on the field and one is running off the field because you can't have that many on the field, or you get a flag. And sometimes, you see in football, people call, the coach calls a timeout to kind of reorganize the team. I think when I saw Alec Burks coming in like that, I'm not sure if Alec Burks went to his actual assignment, in terms of, the technique of how they were going to defend that play. So when those things happen, something always happens when the team just doesn't look like they have chemistry right out of the timeout. And I can't even explain it. I mean, you just go through a 30-second or 1-minute timeout. Everybody's in the huddle. The coach is in the middle designing the play. How in the world, after the timeout is over, do you not have the proper players on the court and everybody's scrambling? So, I think that was the beginning of how it was disconnected. And I also think, let's be honest, the actual moves that Trae Young made on Frank are moves that Frank is not necessarily strong at. I mean, Frank is a very good defender, but he's also slow-footed. He uses a lot of his strength and length to recover on smaller guards. That doesn't mean he can stay with them.
Yeah, his lateral movement is a little suspect.
And especially Trae Young's in the middle of the court. So he has 2 ways that he can go. And he's behind the 3-point line, which means if he decides to explode, he gets a head start on doing that. You as a defender, you don't know what direction, the player with the ball is going to go on. So if you're slow-footed, you're actually at a disadvantage. And, he stood with him for the most part. But once Trae Young made that last move, It was already too much.
Yeah. Actually, Kevin Taylor points out something really good, that when Frank was in at the end of the first half, what ended up happening was there was a switch, and RJ ended up on Trey guarding him at the end of that. So Frank never got any real burn, on Trey the entire game until the last 9 seconds. That's a lot to ask from somebody.
The most important part of the game.
Yeah. I got a feeling it could have been Burks, honestly, that just didn't realize he had to be in the game. You know what I mean? Like in the huddle, they say, okay, well, this is the play, blah, blah, blah. And then he may have just had a slight brain fart moment. And he's like, oh, I'm not in. Wait, am I supposed to be? It could have been on him.
You can't have those in the playoffs. That means if he doesn't feel like he was in, he might not have been paying full attention.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy.
I hate those plays, man. And I got to give credit to Trae Young. He played that so perfectly for the simple fact that whether he was going to make or miss that shot, he basically didn't allow the Knicks to respond with the proper time. It was only 0.9 seconds.
Yeah, he ran the clock off.
But you're not going to get, the greatest of shots. You know what I mean? And so he played Dwayne Wade. I remember Dwayne Wade is one of the best that I've seen in doing that in terms of late shot clock situations. Wade would always wait to the absolute last second because he never allowed the opposing team to respond. Paul Pierce was very good at that as well. So I got to give Trae Young credit in that, from that perspective. He didn't give us much of a shot to tie the game.
Totally. Yeah, he took he almost ran the entire clock down. He gave us less than a second.
Yeah, he could have shot an early 3. He could have, there's many ways he could have taken that possession, and he just was patient, was moving and and we saw what happened. And every time these things
discombobulated at another inbound play, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
we looked terrible inbound play with the Hawks, and then right after we couldn't even get a good shot off. That was ridiculous.
Totally. One thing, I thought we had more turnovers than we did. We only had 11, which 11 is still 11, but every one of them is somehow ingrained in my memory bank. Every single turnover we had. It was one where Rose tried to. I think he tried to pass it over the defense to when he was in the paint. I think it was either to Randle or to Taj. Turnover right there. And it was another bounce pass he tried to do on a semi-fast break to Randle, and it hit him and it went off his leg. I don't remember that. And it kind of looked like it could have been off of Herter's leg. So that was 2 bad ones there. Then Julius, he had a really bad one in the fourth towards in the last minute, I believe, minute and a half, that really crushed us. But the end of the third quarter, Lou Williams it was, I think, about it was a 5 or 8 point swing at that moment where we were totally in control of the game, and he just converted at the end, and that kind of took a bit of the air out of the team going into the fourth quarter. Did you guys
that end of the third was rough,
right?
Man.
And we lose sight of those things. We lose sight of those things because the fourth quarter is so big, and then the beginning of the game is so obvious what's wrong. But it's those end of quarters that matter.
A lot of people think that was the game. I've seen. There's some people that believe, looking back at the game, that sequence there, end of the third quarter, is when you look back, that was the game right there, because Julius Randle, a few questionable plays, and we had the lead, and then it just evaporated after that. And you can't have that at end of quarters. Like, the NBA is a game of runs, so you figured, the team is going to make a run sooner or later. But when you're in the end of quarters, that's inexcusable. It's within the NBA law. It's inexcusable when, last 2 minutes of each quarter, you have to finish strong.
Yeah. At the minute 12 mark, towards the end of the third quarter, we were up 73-66. Taj hits a free throw. Herter misses his 3-pointer. Julius misses his driving layup. And then RJ misses a 3-pointer. And then Lou Williams comes out, hits a 15-footer. then a bad pass from Randle that Gallo steals, and then Lou Williams hits a three-pointer, and it's 73-71. And I think that just gave a lift to the Hawks after they kind of took our punch, and they were like, "Hey, look, we got this game." They had so much confidence, the Hawks. I was kind of surprised that they were that confident against us.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. What do you think, Quis, about that?
Them being confident?
Are you surprised?
I mean, they just looked like they were going to win. In their minds, they were like, "We're going to win this game." That's what it seemed like to me, even though they barely did. But
I wasn't too surprised. Because remember, they went under the coaching change, and they've been on a tear. They've had a better record than us, if I'm not mistaken, right? What are they, 18-7? And we were what, 17-7, something like that? Yeah. So I'm not surprised that they came in here and were able to withstand our initial, push there in the second half. But, they're going to be even more confident now coming into game 2. So it's going to be on whether or not we'll be able to meet them and, bend their will, because the Knicks, I believe, are not the more talented team. But if we continue to work harder than the Hawks, we should still win this series. So it's all going to come down to the Knicks and their mentality coming into it. Like, George, I do think that the Knicks, a lot of those Knicks, Bullock, I'm not so much RJ, but Randle, they kind of felt the pressure. So that, coupled with the Hawks' confidence and the fact that even when the Knicks were able to knock down their shots, the Hawks were still able to stay with them and hang with them. I think that kind of weighed on the Knicks as well. So they're going to have to come into the second game, and they're going to have to actually man up. They're going to have to play physical, and we're definitely going to have to win this game, because this is a must win in my book.
I'll say this. I was slightly surprised at the timely shots that they were making to start the game. There were times where you thought we got off that rut, and then they responded with a three. Just slightly surprised, only because of just the immense energy that went into the game, the crowd. It was the first time both teams had that amount of fans in the arena. Hostile environment. The Garden was chanting defense and rocking from the tip off. And I guess we didn't make matters. We made matters worse. We didn't help our case because we started slowly. So on one end, now on the other end, it's Madison Square Garden, man, and it's so weird because this is a supposedly hostile environment, but players love playing here. Like, this is a dream place for players to play, especially now that the Knicks are relevant and they're on national TV and people are talking about them now. That adds more energy and more enthusiasm to coming to the Garden to play. Let alone players were already motivated coming here when we were trash. Now, where there's even a bigger microscope, these players just get this adrenaline rush that they probably don't get in many other arenas. And I think that actually helps them sometimes, because you have that motivation to kind of shut the crowd up. There's celebrities all over the court side. And so although they're a young team, they're a well-coached team. I think Nate McMillan, part of their play was a testament to their coach. And, Quis mentioned their record since he's been their head coach. So, I was slightly surprised on one end, and on the other end, man, listen, man, the players are going to come here to play. And that's why we have to step up from start. And I hope that we do that in game 2.
Yeah, that's why they call it the Mecca. Everybody wants their moment.
That's right. It's
Trae Young got his.
Yeah, it's LeBron's favorite arena to play in Michael's, and even Kobe. I mean, there you go. Three of the best players of the past 20, 30 years. It's their favorite arena. It must be a great place to shoot. The background must be. I've never played on it, but it must be a great place to shoot, because those guys
made some threes there, George.
Not there. I played in the Poly Pavilion, UCLA. That was awesome to play there on that court.
Okay. Did you guys say who you would start if you're making any?
Yes, we did talk about that.
We left a player for you to go into.
Yeah. So we know you're a big Elfrid Payton stan. And I mean, almost as big as I am.
Right.
So we were talking about what's the probability that Thibs is actually going to make the change. Quis thought, what'd you say, 90%? I said 90%.
Should be 100, but it's probably 90.
Yeah,
90% what? That he won't?
that he will.
That he will.
Ooh,
That he will.
Ooh, okay, I like it. I like it. I thought you guys would still be on the no side.
No, I mean we think he has to, but
he has to. But I'm saying, okay, so is that percentage on you feel he has to, or you think he will?
I did both.
You go.
100% he has to, but only 90% chance that he will.
Well, 90% that he will is likely that he will. Then
yeah, that 10%
it's likely, but it's not. Yeah, there's that 10% because you know Thibs.
Yeah.
Well, he wakes up. Oh no, I'm not. The 10%.
You never know. He might sleep on the wrong side of the bed. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys went on some the specifics, but I guess what was circulating in terms of what is different this time around is kind of how the way that Thibs answered the questions regarding Elfrid Payton. Some have reported that he was he non-committal. Others reported that he didn't say anything. And there's a quote out there where he said that he's going to put the best players out there. And if he says that, as I mentioned to you guys privately, usually in football terms, when a coach says there's a quarterback controversy, the coach says that there's usually a change coming, right? And so, because if by the letter of what he said, if he is saying I'm going to put the best players out there, unfortunately, Elfrid Payton doesn't fit that bill to me. If you're saying you're going to put your best players out there. Now, if we're going to take that quote on a technical basis, and that probably means Rose, although I have a different player that I would start, but we talked
about starting Quick or Rose or even Frank just to get him in there. I said maybe Frank.
He said Frank,
an interesting choice,
and no one's argued for Quickley yet.
Yeah,
so we were waiting for you to pop on.
Well, I mean, you guys know I dropped a video today, and now I do, like I mentioned, Derrick Rose is probably the likely option, and I would guess the most likely decision if he does in fact make the change. But I wouldn't be surprised if Quickley gets the nod. I personally would probably go with Quickley only because I just feel that if you look at the way Thibs has gone with this Elfrid Payton thing, he has done everything under his power to keep the plan of Derrick Rose coming off the bench and Derrick Rose playing probably about 30 to 32 minutes. That looks to have been his goal, because if we're talking strictly basketball, he would have started Rose from the get-go, maybe even after the trade, right? So I think the plan has always been, let's strengthen our bench. We can steal minutes with our starters, and under no circumstances do we want Rose to start, for the simple fact that we don't want to overextend him. We don't want him to overcompensate. We don't want to, give him too many minutes. So to me, him making that change, probably deep inside, is probably not what he wanted to do, but it looks like he may be forced to do it at this point. And that is why I would go with Quickley, because it still allows you to stick with the game plan with your bench, right? They both played well. Alec Burks and Rose played well off the bench, so you can continue to have that production. And again, the key here is that we're not talking about Elfrid Payton 21 minutes Elfrid Payton. We're not talking about the 27 minutes Elfrid Payton. We're not even talking about the 17 minutes Elfrid Payton. Forget the season. We're talking about the Elfrid Payton that played 8 minutes, and that if he starts game 2, will probably play another 8 to 10 minutes. At that point, at this point where he's playing that low minutes, to me, why not just give it a Quickley?
Yeah.
Right? For a personnel decision and to help Julius Randle. The focus, and this is why to me, it has nothing to do with Elfrid Payton. To me, game 2, we have to figure out a way to have Julius Randle have a better start. That has to be the focus. And it just so happened that Elfrid Payton is in the middle of that because he's a starter. So it's not even about that he's trash and this. I'm off that. It's just about our best player just had a terrible game one. And this is a best player that has no playoff experience. So who can convince me that if he goes 0 for 4 in the first 2 minutes of the game, that now this thing doesn't start to become psychological. Mind you, where we're gonna have a packed house, and the New York fans, Julius Randle misses his first 4 or 5 shots, you're gonna start hearing the sighs, you're gonna start hearing the stress. You know what I mean? And you don't know how Julius Randle is gonna respond to that. So, and even if you start quickly, it may not work. But as a head coach, your responsibility is to put your best player in the best position. And to me, you do that by surrounding him with shooters from the jump and see what happens. If you start Rose, I 100% support it. Me personally, I would go with Quickley, and I would build off his last game.
You know what? You guys know I've been a big Quickley fan. I really think that Thibs made a very strategic mistake not converting Quickley into a point guard back in February, because he needed the burn, he needed the time on the floor, he needed to grow into the role. We've had many arguments: is he a real point guard or not? It's irrelevant in my opinion. He's a guard. He's a guard who can shoot. He doesn't turn the ball over. His handle isn't that outstanding, but it's good enough. And his range is just infinite. It spaces the floor tremendously. But, he is a rookie, and this is game 2 of the playoffs, and we're down 1 game. So I totally hear you. I think the other option is, I think if you start Frank and put the ball in RJ's hands and not in Julius's hands, let Julius relax. So the burden of Julius having to get into the flow of the game in scoring, because you're right, if he misses 4 shots, the pressure starts building. We saw it. That's exactly what happened in game 1. But you put it in RJ's hands. RJ, he slashes. He's able to, do that little lob pass to Nerlens or to Taj on the pick and roll. He can finish himself. He can find Julius out behind the 3-point line open, so that it's not so much on Julius's shoulders in the beginning of the game. But when you start Elfrid, and then Frank is out on the 3-point line, and if he's open, we have a much better chance of Frank hitting his shot than Elfrid ever. And at least he spaces the floor. At least he commands attention. Where Elfrid, people leave him alone completely, and that's what makes life harder on the other guys. So that's kind of like the compromise. And the other reason I'd like that too is because he can get that time facing Trey and disrupt him, not let Trey get into the flow, in the beginning of the game, which would be nice. And he can burn a couple of fouls. And if he gets into foul trouble, boom, then comes Rose. So that might be the happy compromise, but anybody else other than Elfrid, I'd like to see start, man.
I mean, yeah, you bring up a good point in that if Thibodeau is thinking, you know what, this guy left the court talking trash, saying a lot of things, tweeting and everything, and if you're thinking, you know what, let's not wait 1 second, let's not waste fouls for Rose, let's not get Quickley in foul trouble. I know Stephen Fox asked, do I think maybe the foul trouble situation is the reason why he wouldn't start him? Quite possibly could be. You may not want Quickley to get in foul trouble. Sometimes I think, listen, man, at this time in the playoffs, I don't think Quickley's going to play 30 something minutes anyway. So it's like, if he picks up a foul or two, you continue to play him, because I just it'll be difficult for me to see him foul out within 20 or something minutes that he may play in game 2, especially since a lot of the minutes last game he played Herter. He was very effective denying the ball, and Herter is not a player that can, and that's why to me this is just starting. This is just going the first 4 or 5 minutes. So this is not starting Quickley and Quickley's playing the whole first quarter or playing the first 8 minutes. This is just to kind of try to see if the spacing helps Randle, because again, my focus is just Randle. Like we don't win this series without our best player playing well. Like it does. Like we got some surprise shots from Obi. We got a highlight and a 3 from Obi. We got some threes from the locker room from Immanuel Quickley. We got some energy from him. We got a crazy game from Alec Burks. I don't think, many of us thinks he's going to average near 30 points per game in the whole series. I mean, he may have another one of these games later on this series. I don't think I expect this every game.
But we think he's going to give us production, whatever it is.
Right. But he's not going to give us that. So, which means that Randle has to pick it up, and he's my main focus. But to Frank, you probably thinking that would be the only angle that I would see him to start in is like, hey, from the jump, we want to make a statement, a physical statement on this guy. I don't care if you foul out. We just want you to be a pest. Go in there. If he beats you, he beats you. Who cares? But we want you to be physical. We want you to, to set that tone on him, kind of see if he gets off rhythm and that leads to him having an off night.
Yeah. And he's kind of can be used as a sacrificial lamb in a way. If you start Frank and it doesn't really pan out that great, you just make the change and then it doesn't disrupt anyone else's role, because Rose is still in his role.
I'm waiting for that tweet tomorrow. I'm waiting for that Ian Begley tweet.
Yes.
Who's the starter? Because I honestly don't think it's going to be Frank. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be Rose.
Yeah, it'll be Rose, which is, I mean, he's fantastic because former MVP.
Yeah. And listen, Thibs has had a personal conversation with Rose, because they're best buddies.
They're besties.
So Rose knows that he's going to play a lot of minutes. He just played 38, 39 minutes. And, Thibs is probably talking to him tonight. Like, listen, I'm going to start you and we're definitely going to watch your minutes, but you're going to have to give us about 35, 36. And we'll see how that results. I mean, during these playoffs, they do have off days in between. It is New York and Atlanta. It's not like you're traveling to the West Coast. But that's just my concern with Rose. It's just the fourth quarter and how he finishes games. If we can keep him fresh, we're good.
Yes, that's it. Was a lot of it is time management, with Rose. And so
what's your guys' confidence level that Randle's going to show up? You guys nervous?
You know what?
Are you guys nervous? Keep it real, Quis. You nervous?
Nah, I ain't nervous. I think Randle will show up. I think he's some of that muscle memory. He started to revert to the Julius Randle of last year. Why are you surprised I'm saying that? I don't have beef with Julius Randle. I just wasn't a fan of how he played last year. And he looked like that against the Hawks for a little bit. Like I was thinking, it's muscle memory. He's reverting back to the old Julius. But if he's able to come back and play and trust his teammates, because to start the game, his teammates were missing shots. And you saw that started to get to him. And then he tried to put the team on his shoulder. And then he has to realize he can't do that. He's not that type of transcendent star. He has to work within the team. He can elevate the team, but he's not going to put everybody on his back and carry them throughout the whole game. So if he
100%.
starts to work within the team again, moves the ball, I think we'll be fine. It was just the nerves. The crowd probably got to them the first time they were in front of 15,000 people cheering for them. And then to start the game like that and to feel the air, go out of the crowd, I think that definitely affected them. But they'll learn off of this. It'll be a learning experience. They have the right coach, a coach that has playoff experience to kind of set them in the right way.
I want to hear from the chat. If you're nervous, I want to hear if you're nervous. So just type yes. If you're not, just type no in the chat. I want to get the read of the room of the chat.
Foxy's nervous. I don't know if Fritz.
Foxy's nervous. Fritz, are you nervous? Salute Fritz. Salute Tom Hera. Brother Trent.
Oh yeah,
Trent
George.
Turner.
Also,
yes.
Earlier, Fritz had mentioned that Julius Randle got the trophy in practice. It was presented to him by his son.
Oh
wow,
that's cool.
So it was
Fritz
just
announced in the stream.
Okay, so it was just announced on social media late.
That's awesome.
These players always know before we all do.
Yeah, so they better. Sco keeps saying 3-0 sample size with D Rose starting. Yes.
32 and a half minutes he averaged. So he can start and not get a crazy amount of minutes. It's doable.
Hey,
that was a game with Quickley and
I'd like to see Inf out there.
Right? Because Imp is terrible. That's my guy, but
I think great.
all he can do is shoot.
I can't wait. I can't wait for those first couple minutes of the game. I think we're gonna learn a lot about this team, man, because Tom Herrera made a good point. And it's something that I gave thought about is the week off. I mean, we discussed this privately, in terms
That
of
was a huge factor.
What factors could have led into it. And I think, I think we'll find out here in game 2 if that is, we can say that now, but we'll find out in game 2 if the whole week off dynamic where, this is the first, time that they're doing this whole in terms of playing and, with the team having a week off like that, first time for the Knicks experiencing this. Usually, past years, season's over and like 2 days later, the playoffs start. Now you having, your top 6 seed, you get a whole week off, and they were the second to last game of the whole first round. Like they were the second to last game. After their game, you had the Utah game versus the Grizzlies. They were the second to last game in the whole schedule. So, these guys have social media. They're looking on Twitter. They're looking on YouTube. They're watching George's videos. They're watching Quis's videos. They're not watching mine, but they're watching your videos. and so,
I'm sure their family and friends are tuning in. They're definitely tapped into social media. They reference us. Even the announcers do. Clyde sometimes references our attitude that we have.
Yeah, and the beat writers, the beat writers definitely do.
The beat writers do.
I think there was just a lot of adrenaline, a lot of stuff, and this is what I would like to believe, and that's why I said we're gonna find out early in game 2 what it was. Was it a layoff? Was it that there's something schematically that the Atlanta Hawks did successfully? Is it that we're just not ready yet? That's why I can't wait for game 2. I'm nervous, but it's a good nervous. It's not a negative nervous. It's a good nervous.
All right, let me just read the chat a little bit here. Tom Herrera says yes. D9 says not nervous but concerned. That's yeah. I'm kind of, you know what? Now I'm gonna tell you the argument for starting Rose is really strong, man. Because here's the thing, like you guys are all saying, oh man, the beginning, the start of it, everything, it's so important. What better person in the entire NBA to have the ball in his hands to start off a game like this with so much intensity and pressure than Derrick Rose? I mean, the guy, his basketball IQ is off the charts. He can't do the 1-on-4 fast breaks anymore and convert, but he's brilliant, and I think the team will feel calmer knowing that the ball's in his hands. When it's in Elfrid's hands, I think it creates a lot of pressure for Randle and RJ. But one guy we haven't talked about, and because we're going to wrap this up pretty soon, because we have to get going. But we haven't talked about someone who really, shit the bed in game 1, and he's a very key person, and he gets overlooked a lot. He gets overlooked the whole season, and it's Reggie Bullock, and he's playing for a contract too. What do you guys expect from him this game?
30 points, 6 threes, and 10 rebounds.
Yes. Bingo, bango, bongo.
Yeah, you could take it, Quis.
You got to put that on a shirt, George.
What do you expect, Quis?
He should have a good game. Usually with Reggie Bullock, he's inconsistent like that. So he had a bad game, and then the next one will be good. And then game 3 will be bad, and game 4 will be good. So he'll be decent. I'm more focused on him defensively. Shut down the man in front of you, whether that be Bogdan, whether that be Herter, whether that be Hunter, whoever's in front of you, shut him down. That's what we're worried about. And knock down 2 or 3 threes. If you can do that, that's fine. That's all you're needed for. Once again, he's a role player. He's not expected to carry any kind of load. So just solid defense and knock down your threes. If he can't do that, then he's in trouble.
Well, I did say that, in the playoffs, you have a roster of 15 players, 12 players are the active, and maybe 8 or 9 are in the rotations. There's always a player or two in the playoffs for every single team that just doesn't come through. And I'm not saying it's going to be him. That's why we'll see game 2. But what I am saying is, we're going to have a player or two that doesn't play up to how he played in the season. He only played like 18, 19 minutes. He was 0 for 5 from 3. And I want to have his defense out there, but if you're not going to make, a shot, then Thibodeau's not going to have confidence in playing you, the minutes that he needs to. And I think he is very important in this matchup specifically, as long as he's making shots, because not only his defense, but his ability to play pick and roll defense. I thought at one point that he may be an option to even defend Trae Young. And I thought for a moment that Thibs was going to make that adjustment, but offensively, Reggie could not get it going.
No.
And Reggie's rated one of the top, defenders at his position in the pick and roll. Usually because he's a little light, he's a little slim, so he's able to get through some of the picks and he's able to stay with you. And then his length allows him to catch up and recover. That's a good, good skill set to use against Trae Young. And so we'll see. I hope he does, but if he doesn't, I won't be surprised either. Can't tell you I'll be surprised.
I was when his first and only bucket, I think it was the only bucket in the first quarter from Reggie Bullock, was a dunk. I was like, this is
that putback?
Yes.
He caught a body on that one, though. He caught a body on it. Who missed that layup? Payton? It was either Payton or RJ that missed the layup.
Well, that was a clap. Payton drove without any real intention, and then he curled it, and then Bullock was cutting, and he curled into. They almost collided into each other, and Elf kind of shoveled the ball to him, kind of little shovel pass, and then Reggie, he didn't know what to do, so he kind of kept going, and he missed the first one, but then he was a putback dunk. Once I saw it, I was like, when is I've never seen Bullock dunk. And now in retrospect, that was a harbinger of doom. If Reggie's not swishing those threes, we're going to have a hard time.
You guys think the season's on the line tomorrow?
All right. I knew you were going to ask this question, fucker.
George doesn't like it when I have to make him say what it is. He doesn't like it. George wants everything to be all roses, and
I said this in the video I dropped last night. That when we were on the last live stream, the reason I did not say Game 1 was a must win was because I actually, because I'm a gambler. And if I had to put money on Game 1, it would have been on Knicks losing. I just felt it. I just, like many of the factors, the long layoff, the intensity of the moment. It's Julius's first playoff series. RJ, he's still only 20. And then the Thibs factor, and then the Elfrid Payton factor. And then like you said, JD, there's always somebody that does well in the regular season, but they just go cold in the playoffs like Bullock did. All those aspects made me think, we're going to lose Game 1, but I just don't see that as costing us the series. But the way that we lost Game 1, part of me gives me a lot of hope that, all we got to do is just get some more production out of the guys who usually give us production. Nothing spectacular. Like Randle doesn't have to be he just has to be his regular self, and we win. So I don't think that's much to ask for. But if we lose, is what you're asking?
No, I'm just saying, we lose, just going into the game for us, is the season on the line?
I don't think the season's on the line. No.
So in other words, you're saying if we lose, you still think we are.
That's the beauty of having Game 7 at home court.
Well,
if we were in Atlanta, if Atlanta had home
the
court,
Phil Jackson Lakers, I'll say so. If this was the Phil Jackson Lakers or the Larry Brown Pistons, you can go down 0-2 and not think anything's happened. But this young team, and it'll be tough. I guess it depends. Like if Randle goes completely off and we lose another heartbreaker, then somebody can sell me. I guess you can sell me on the whole Atlanta is Madison Square Garden 2.0 type of thing. And I'll try to buy into that again, depending on how the game goes. But Julius Randle must have a good game. If we lose and Julius Randle had another dud, then I think it's going to be tough to win this series.
Yeah.
because at that point,
if we go down 0-2, I'm not holding back any of my off-season content anymore. I'm gonna just hit release at that point.
So we know the season's over for Quis.
I got if we
0-2 without a proven leader to carry us back. I don't know, man. I'm gonna be a little skeptical. I ain't gonna wave the white flag. I'm still gonna be rooting and cheering, but you know, I'd be lying if I said I had the utmost confidence. 0-2
Yeah, man,
with Julius Randle leading the team, and he doesn't really have any accolades outside of MIP.
Yeah.
Oh, and the All-Star. We gotta don't forget the All-Star.
But don't worry, Quis. Georgia put out a video, and he'll give the other picture, and we'll all believe.
Honestly, it depends on how. I mean, look. I mean, in reality, our first unit played like shit. I mean, like garbage, like stinky 3-week-old, sanitation strike garbage that's been sitting out there in the hot sun. That's how our first unit played, and they barely beat us, and they played well. So, it would have to be more of that. It would have to be just this team just becomes disconnected, and they stop trusting each other. And I just don't see. We haven't seen that all year long. They're such a hardworking team.
He said, "I'm not going to hold off any offseason content. I'm just going to hit release."
I might as well, man.
Yeah,
now listen. Here's a positive though. Going into the series, since going into the positive mode now, going into the series, we mentioned, or at least I mentioned, in Quis, you not so much. You weren't that concerned about Capella, but Capella and the rebounding. And the Knicks, we out-rebounded the Hawks by 7. And offensive rebounds, we had 13 offensive rebounds to the Hawks 7. So if you're looking for another positive that hasn't been talked about, that was a concern because, the whole Trae Young thing, the ending, and a lot of this stuff has overshadowed certain parts of the game that played out. And rebounding with Capella and him controlling the paint and the offensive rebounds and all that stuff was a big concern. And the Knicks held up pretty well. And so hopefully they're able to duplicate that in game 2. But when I look at that, that's also, if Knick fans wants to look at another positive, that's also, something else that we can look at for game 2.
And another positive is they only got 12 free throws. Trae normally
when they got those free throws is what was annoying.
Yeah, that was annoying, but still we kept them off the line, and that was key. So that's all part of the strategy that they were able to execute: the rebounding, not making stupid fouls, forcing guys to take threes that are not necessarily in rhythm for them. Because a lot of those guys, they had kind of openish shots, but you could see they weren't good rhythm shots for them. Gallo, he wasn't in the flow. Even Herter, even though he hit a few, we were able to disrupt their offensive flow enough. Unfortunately, Trae, he's fantastic. He's just a fantastic offensive weapon, and he's the one who won the game for him. So we have to come out of the gate right away and take control of this game in the first quarter, and that'll be all she wrote, pretty much. Because I think with our defense, we won't let them get back in the game this time. We'll be too focused now. That's what I'm seeing.
Who's the player of the game tomorrow?
Derrick Rose.
Randle.
I'm shocked. He said Randle.
No, I said Derrick.
It better be Randle. If it's not Randle, I don't know what kind of video to make, because there's not a video you can make without Batman if he don't come up and have the best game of his career. This is the most important game of his career. This is going to answer the questions of whether or not you are a max player or you're just a player that has to be carried by somebody else. So if he's not there to show up this game, and the Knicks, I won't say we're in trouble, but we're going to have to reevaluate giving Julius Randle a max, which is something I wouldn't do. We got to give him the 23 mil. Because then you can have stinkers every now and again if you're only getting paid 23 mil. But if you're getting paid 36, I expect you to be there every single game, every single minute, every single second.
So what would qualify? 30 plus from Julius?
It doesn't have to be that crazy. Just get your teammates involved, be efficient on the field. And
so like what we were talking about,
he plays with the way you were moving the ball.
Yeah. Okay. So if he plays his regular game, Gotcha. That's yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
If he plays his regular game, yeah. But I think in terms of the player of the game, I think it's going to be someone else. Like, like we had Burks. Like if we had won game one, Burks would have been the player of the game. It's going to be one of those role players. In this case, if Rose doesn't start, I think it'll be him. But if he starts, God, I hope he starts. God, can you imagine if Thibs finally makes the change after all this suffering we've had with Elfrid Payton all these months?
They might celebrate in the streets.
Yeah. For all we know, the Garden's going to give a standing ovation to Thibodeau.
Yo, whoever they start, if they start Derrick Rose, they might lose top. Because you get all those love, and you're going to get that amplified by the fact nobody wants Peyton to start. So,
yeah. Oh, man.
You want me to repeat myself? You didn't hear me?
Yeah, it froze up a little bit when you said it.
Yeah.
Oh, I said if Rose starts, the top of the Garden is going to pop because you're going to have the positive vibes of the Rose fans and the love he's receiving, amplified by the fact that everybody is relieved Peyton is out of the starting lineup. So that'll be a crazy environment. Yeah.
Chicago, all the way from Chicago.
You're gonna hear it from Skull.
Those Bulls,
Skull 6 trade. Gonna be like, yeah, let's go.
Skull's gonna be high fiving himself.
Those Bulls Rose fans.
He's the resident Rose fan.
Yeah. Start Rose. He's gonna be a Bull if y'all don't start him. I'm like, all right.
Jack Levine might not be a Bull. You might want to worry about that first.
Salute to the chat. Salute Pedro, Trent. Who else is still with us here? Foxy, brother BKL. This has been great. I think we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. What's your prediction, game 2? Do you guys have any score predictions? I'm always pretty bad at those things, but you guys give it a shot.
For the hell of it?
Yeah, for the hell of it. What do you think, Quis?
I expect us to win.
Right.
I don't expect us to hold them under 100. It's on film. You got to write it down. Just rewind to the end of the stream.
Right.
What?
Yeah, that's right. What's your score prediction?
We're not gonna hold them under 100.
I could just put on a sticky note and just have it right here on my computer.
All right, so I'm gonna say
you want me to log on YouTube and you want me to go to the stream. You want me to scroll it all the way to the end. I'll do that.
I hear you. I got the Knicks up 105-102. We're gonna win by 3. Another close game. Julius Randle is gonna be the player of the game, and we're gonna see a big impact from IQ off the bench. Book it.
Wait, what'd you say? You said 105 to 103?
105, 102.
102.
Another nail biter that we have to deal with.
JD, what's your prediction?
The playoffs. If you're expecting blowouts, man, you must be looking at like Lakers versus Suns or something. That ain't finna happen over here. We ain't
hopefully it's a Bucks Heat game. Hopefully is a Nuggets response like the Nuggets played last night.
The Nuggets response gave me a lot of hope for game 2 for the Knicks.
Right.
But it requires Randle playing the Jokic role.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jokic has years of doing it. Yeah, Jokic grew into it, but man, he did it 2 years ago. The Nuggets came back from 3 games to 1, and then last year they did it twice.
See, with Jokic,
is a playmaker.
Yeah,
but with Jokic is like.
But Randle has, he's not obviously not.
Randle's a scorer, but he just sprays the ball. He's able to make the right pass.
Yeah, he has the ability.
He's not setting people up.
Yeah,
sometimes he is. He sets Bullock. He sets Reggie up. They have a nice chemistry going. We didn't see it in game 1, but
they're obviously not in the same league in passing. But I don't think you necessarily need to be that. You don't need to be LeBron James or Jokic or John Stockton or Jason Kidd to get the play done.
Right.
But I think the difference.
Look at Paul Pierce. He wasn't that level passer, but he could make plays.
Right. And the difference is, like, I mentioned in my video today, the decision making. Jokic is a guy that, you try to double him, he makes quick decisions. He doesn't wait, he doesn't hesitate. And that is a little bit of what Randle has been dealing with, takes a little bit longer with the ball. He hesitates a little bit, and that leads to a rush shot, an off-balance shot, or sometimes a turnover or a dumb decision. So that's, to me, the only difference. But Randle does have the ability to have that type of impact for sure. He's had a lot of it during the season. He just had a rough first game. So my prediction is I have the New York Knicks 116, Atlanta 108.
Okay.
Because I look at we scored 105. I'm gonna bank on RJ hitting a few threes. I'm gonna bank on Bullock hitting at least 2 threes. And I think that'll kind of boost up the score to about 116, and then we play some solid defense, and they only get 108. Look, I'm over here explaining it like it's gonna, it's gonna happen that way.
I love it. Can you imagine if it happens exactly like that? I'll take it. I think both teams are going to be. Win. I think both teams are going to be under 110 points. I think it's going to be Knicks 109, Hawks 102. And it's gonna in the last. It's just gonna be like a lucky 3-point shot that Trey flings it, because the Knicks will have kept them under 100 until that last second.
I just hope before we leave, that when we look back at this series, I hope that little 7-second video of him walking off the court and saying, "It got quiet in there. It got quiet in there. Look at them yelling. I don't care. Next one. I hope that becomes like this meme video or something. Like, we're gonna look back at it and say, "Look at you, game 1, you did all that, and y'all did not win this series." I hope so, because what Jordan, I forgot what Jordan used to say, but it was something about, it's good to talk, when you go up 1 or something like that. But talk when it's 0-0.
Yeah, it's easy to talk when you're up 1. Is what he used to say. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
something like that. So I just hope that happens, because if not, oh man, it's gonna be frustrating.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons, because we're about to sign on, one of the main reasons that I do think that the defense is going to be even more, even just kind of basically shut the Hawks down, is because the pick and roll defense was total crap, and they scored 107. They were under their average, so we kept them pretty low, kept them somewhat contained. Once they commit to switching, like on the video that I dropped, that we switched the big man onto Trey and let it's Rose or Payton, whoever it is, to take whoever the big man was covering, at least for that like half second, to just interrupt Trey's flow and decision making and disrupt his vision. That's going to make all the world of difference, because that gave the Hawks a lot of confidence. So we need to disrupt their confidence.
We got to put them on the floor, put them on the court.
Rapid fire. Who has more pressure tomorrow, Thibs or Randle?
Randle.
I think Randle is.
Thibs got 4 more years at the end of his contract. Randle only got 1.
Yeah.
So?
And at the end of the day, but JD, at the end of the day,
a lot.
I think
for your next contract.
I think.
Where's the thing? The next coach.
I think.
What that got to do with the 4 years left on his contract? He's paid regardless. Listen, Julius Randle got to earn his money. There's more pressure on him.
Randle's going to be here one way or another. Like you mentioned, he's either going to be here for the max or he's going to be here on a bargain. Either way, the Knicks are not just going to forget.
If he has a terrible playoffs, that might change the way they evaluate.
We've seen players.
No, you don't just give up on a player. A 26.
I'm not saying you're going to give up on him.
No.
His first playoff series. No.
But wait. Okay, let's rephrase the question. Who is putting more pressure on themselves?
Randle.
I think Randle. Thibs is,
But if Randle has a decent game and Elfrid Payton started, and that offense looked the same way where nobody was moving and it's a bunch of isolation, you better believe they're gonna be looking at Thibs. At least the fans will. The beat writers, they respect him. Talk about from a fan perspective. I feel like a lot of people are gonna start looking at Thibs like, yo, come on, man. Like, this is 2 games now. It's a lot of isolation.
I think you're way overplaying that, man. The love for Thibs, we wouldn't even be here if it weren't for him. I think he's got a lot. We wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Randle. That's true. But Randle was here last year. You know what I mean? What's the big difference? Exactly. So I think what you're talking about is like, let's play it out next season. we shit the bed this series. He never makes the change with Payton. It costs us the series. And then next year we get back to the same situation and again makes more blunders. Then I think you're right. But right now, the pressure is more on Randle.
Man, players got a longer lifespan than coaches. So,
well, you mean in terms of what's going to happen in their future here? That's a.
No, I'm saying in terms of like when okay, people sour on Randle. I get it, but I just because the Thibs thing, his style over time could start to wear off on the players. And like I'm saying, if he does not make adjustments, he doesn't make a lineup change, and Randle has a decent game, not a terrible game. I say a decent game where you're like, man, he didn't play great, but he played okay. People are going to start to look at Thibs. I'm telling you, just watch the film. There was a lot of isolation going on, and I didn't see Reggie Bullock coming off screens. I didn't see no creativity. I didn't see a lot of, I'm just saying. And if Elfrid Payton continues to start, you mean to tell me that people are not going to say, okay, Thibs, like, where's the adjustments that you made?
We're there.
I'm just saying.
I think we're already there for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Payton.
I mean, first of all, it's neck and neck. They're both together.
1A, 1B.
Yeah, exactly.
I would not be surprised.
Stop provoking you guys,
I wouldn't be surprised if RJ is the top scorer of game 2. That's my little prediction.
You think so? For real?
Yeah.
RJ gonna be the leader scorer?
Yeah.
Wait, tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. I think RJ is gonna be.
I'm like, wait, tomorrow.
Yeah. What do you're like? Yeah.
Well, Berman was telling everybody the game was today. Yeah,
I wish.
They were like, of course, Elfrid can't start today. There's no game today.
All right, man. Well, this has been awesome. We'll do this again. I don't know when. It's hard for us to schedule this stuff because we all have our channels and putting on our content. But please check out Sports Vibes TV and JD's channel, JD Sports Talk, and check out Into the Knicks-Verse. I'll be dropping a variety of different videos, looking at different angles and different players. So I'm going to be focused still on the series right now. I'm not going to be too forward thinking at the moment. But it's truly been a gift. It's been a gift that we've even had this opportunity, honestly. Right. And I want to thank you two guys for coming on.
No, thank you as always, George. It's an honor as always.
And shout out to the chat. You guys want to shout anybody out in the chat?
Yeah, Foxy, Trent Turner, Pedro. Thank you guys for holding us down. Skull.
Yeah.
Skull holding it down for D Rose in the chat.
Yes.
Always Foxy, Tom Herrera, and D Nice. Bodega Wi-Fi, brother. BK
Bodega Wi-Fi pulled up. What's up?
Bodega Wi-Fi pulled up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he pulled up with the Bodega Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I love that. That's one of my favorite handles.
That's his name. I'm thinking he's probably at the deli.
He's at the corner. He's at the corner near the deli.
Fritz, shout out to Fritz. Shout out to
Fritz. Shout out to Fritz. Love. And hey man.
Let's get it. Let's get
game 2. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get game 2, and then we're gonna go down to Atlanta, and it's gonna be a different mindset for the Hawks. I really hope.
According to George, we're gonna win the next 4 games. So let's go.
I'm just saying. I didn't say that. I said I wouldn't be surprised. But this thing's gonna go 6 or 7. It's just the Hawks prove that they're in it. They're in this thing to win, and now we have to respond. I look at it as like a boxing match. That was just round 1. Now round 2, boom! I want to see them put Trey on his ass on that floor,
as they should.
Yes,
at least once.
Nothing dirty. Just lay his ass on the floor. I want to see that frizz of his just on the heart.
He'll be like a dandelion. He'll hit the floor and all his hair fly out.
Yes, I want to see that. I want to see him wake up, get up a little dazed,
Oh, man,
dazed and confused.
I can't. If
we need to know what's gonna be with. Go ahead, JD.
No, I was gonna say I'm gonna text you if Randle has a big game tomorrow.
He better.
You know what would be hilarious though?
You're like, he better.
Be hilarious though. Thibs
What?
never makes the change, and Payton gives us 24 points.
Oh my god.
And then we're back to square fucking one.
I thought George was gonna say, and he gets it going, and now he's back on track. He goes, we're back to square one.
Yeah, because it's not.
Like, he totally
He's here for the long
disregards
haul at
the
that
positive. Yeah.
Yes.
Payton does that. He has that good game, and then he buys
Exactly.
like 20 games.
Exactly.
It's going to sabotage us.
Yeah.
But we need
All
to
right,
know what's going to
guys.
happen with Noel too. So keep an eye out for that. See what his
Oh.
availability is like.
Yeah.
Ian Begley says most likely he'll play, but we never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. Salute to everybody. We're signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up for us, guys. All right, guys. Peace out.